my mind, I was able to think and process. And if I let him get back up, he's going to get back up. I was like, let me finish this right now. And I caught him with that left hook, and then I caught him again with that right hook just to make sure the job was done, because I was calculating his hands wasn't touching the ground and his knees weren't touching the ground, but I know he was still going down. To make sure he wasn't getting back up, I had to let those last two off, man.
Combat Sports Report. Only on SportsGrid.
He's just only 2,300 points behind. So even if he does win at Memphis, he's still going to be behind Scottie Scheffler in the points by 300. So why? I mean, I want Scottie Scheffler to show up in Memphis, but does he need to? If Rory's not showing up and the third place guy, even if he wins, isn't going to pass him?
The Smiley Show. Only on SportsGrid.
What do you make of the season that Barkley had last year as he piled on the yards to get over 2,000, and what can that look like this year?
His year could have been much better with different circumstances here. So he was great. I assume he'll be great again. You want to take Jahmyr Gibbs? I don't have an issue with it, but, Barkley, yeah, you're going to lose the tush push.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Big Fish is the best player in the WNBA. She is running away with the MVP award. Why is that? Caitlin Clark, injured. Asia Wilson, not playing at Asia Wilson level, but it's more about the fact about what's around her has been an issue. So to me, Fish is almost like the MVP because everyone else has gone down in some way, shape, or form.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
August. Yes, it is August 1st here. This is the early line, bright and early on a Friday morning, ready to kick it off and have some fun. But also, we got questions to ask the people out there. It's Donnie right side, it's Joe Ranieri. We love football. Football was in our eyesight yesterday, and we asked a question that was like, you know what? You guys going to watch this game? You going to tune in first quarter, second quarter, third quarter? How do you feel about it? Will you bet this game? And we got the vibes, Joe Ranieri, that a lot of people really didn't want to watch this game. So before we ask that question, I'm going to ask you this question, Joe Ranieri. Did you feel that the people were sort of saying I just hate watching this, and I'm going to say no just to say no?
Yes, I did. Let's face it. The public is some folks just don't want to admit, Donnie, that, I caught a little bit of it. I don't want to be that guy that it's July and I'm already into football because my wife will kill me. So, I absolutely think that there's a lot of people that watched even the few minutes of it, but probably will be like, oh, no, I can't watch preseason football. I can't do it.
All right, let's get to the question here. Fade the public. Let's go. All right, the question we asked at SportsGrid, we ask it every single morning, Monday through Friday. We want the public's intel. We want the public's knowledge. Which way are they going here? And do we need to fade the public? So the question asked today was, did you watch any of the NFL Hall of Fame game from last night? Now, before I get to the actual numbers on that, we asked a poll similar to yesterday. Will watch, 32.9%. Will watch and bet, 17.7%. Won't watch was 49% yesterday. So let's reveal the results today. The yes, 37.5%. The no, 62.5%. So what do we make of these statistics here coming out? Is it more people watching? Because will watch was 32 yesterday. Yes was 37.5. But the won't watch was 49.4. This one's 62.5. But we don't have the other caveat, will watch and bet. So what do we make of this here?
Well, whether you watch in bed, watch on a couch, watch on your phone, we still got nearly, 50%, Donnie, yesterday, watching it in some way, shape, or form. And now we're being told here today that the poll tells us that, no, we couldn't even get 40%. of the people to watch any of that game. So, yeah, no, I'm not buying it. If you are a football fan, nobody is saying that you pulled up the chair, you sent the kid there, you're like, all right, everyone leave me alone for 3 hours. I'm watching the Hall of Fame. No, but you can't tell me as a football fan that you didn't get just a little bit of a little taste of what is to come here now that the calendar turns to August last night. Because there's also a few other things going on, by the way, this season in the NFL that if you had watched last night, get used to the chain gang is no more. So there are a few things worth watching this preseason in the NFL.
No, and also when we're looking at the game itself, we understand like not really any starters are going to play, but it is the first game. And were they upset that like, I don't watch football, Joe, till it's August because yesterday was July 31st. But for me, I don't like preseason. But I wanted to tune into the telecast. I want to see Mike Tirico. I want to see Collinsworth. I want to see the questions on the sideline to, Dan Campbell. I want to see these guys back in uniform. Now, granted, maybe it's not your favorite team, and you will watch your favorite team a little bit later in the month here as they take on their own preseason games. But I still find it hard to believe that it's a no. And is it just hate watch and saying no at this point? Like I watch, I'm going to say no because I don't like the product. Did the 37.5% watch because they won their bet yesterday? They had the Chargers, they had the over, they had certain props in this game. I still can't believe it's NFL football and it's a no. Like when does that turn over? Like we asked this question to open the season on a Thursday night. The Philadelphia Eagles take on the Dallas Cowboys. What happens there? They're going to have a no there too? Like why was there a no last night? I still can't get over this.
Yeah, well, listen, granted, you have to be in front of a TV. I think anybody that was in front of a TV last night, maybe the better question should be as a second poll question. Yeah. Okay, so if you didn't watch the game, what were you watching if you were in front of a TV last night? I'm just curious. Exactly. Was it the Hallmark Channel? Was it reruns of Law and Order? Like, what in the world were you actually watching outside of, I don't know, a couple of minutes of the first NFL preseason game?
You know what I also want to see, too? What the actual ratings for that game are, because we'll probably get them over the next 12 to 24 hours to see if people actually did watch him. But it's almost like if we had a network, Joe, that was like A&E. It's like, hey, did you watch the Hall of Fame game last night in the NFL? Like, no. Like, I watch A&E. Like, I want to hear about war stories from World War II or World War I and, things that are going on. I want to watch a cooking show, if you will, or I'm watching the Home Shopping Network. Of course I'm not watching it. We are a sports network. The biggest sport was on yesterday on a day where we had 3 Major League Baseball games. So I love what you're asking, Joe. What did the people actually watch then? If you told me we had 17 Major League Baseball games yesterday or 16 actual action-packed WNBA games where it was winner moves on, loser goes home, there wasn't anything to do on a Thursday night that we talked about this game for months ahead of time for 62% of sports fans to say they didn't watch. I'm still not buying it. Somebody must have a burner account that has 60 different or 70 different votes just going no. That's what I can only, come up with.
I bet you if you're a Detroit Lion fan, you watched, and already this morning, you are disgusted in so many different ways. And if you're a Chargers fan, if that even exists, then you are without a doubt ecstatic because I mean, Taylor Heineke was your backup last year, right? Now Trey Lance comes out there, looks pretty good. Looks a lot better than anything I ever saw with him from the 49ers. That's for sure. Forget about Dallas. I don't even know what that was, but could this be? And you better get to know him because if anything happens to Mr. Herbert, who always seems to miss a few games here or there every year, could Trey Lance be your backup? And did you see enough from him last night to think you're in good hands?
Now, also, let's get to the other side of this equation, not like yelling about why you people aren't watching this year. The Detroit Lions, it's game number 1 of the preseason. No real starters are playing. But I got to tell you, man, I know the vibes in that locker room from the defensive coordinator and the new offensive coordinator. The game doesn't really matter. But let's look a little fluid. And there's something about getting beat maybe 14-10, 14-6, 14-3 in a preseason game. Hey, just ran through some things, liked what I saw out there. 5 turnovers on offense, 7 total points scored, 34 points given up. And as you said to start the show, like Dan Campbell is a very emotional guy. He understands too, hey, look, I'm the head coach, and that's fine. But I want to get the credit for last year and this year as well. if we don't look good right off the bat, the questions don't say, hey, Dan, what's going on? The questions are, boy, do you miss Ben Johnson? Boy, do you miss Aaron Glenn at this point? Is the leadership void in your locker room there? Because they didn't show up last night. That was the worst case scenario you could have found from the Detroit Lions last night, Joe.
No, and especially since all we heard about in camp, Donnie, is that, these guys were crazy. They were actually hitting each other in shorts. There were fights all over the place. The idea was Detroit was going to come out and they were just going to they were ready for blood. And instead, I forgot I got to hold on to the ball. And Dan Campbell sends out a linebacker to return the opening kickoff, and he promptly does what linebackers do because they're not running backs or wide receiver. Yeah, he fumbled the ball, and then that just set the tone for the rest of the night for Detroit. Didn't look like they were hitting anybody last night except themselves.
No, it didn't. And by the way, Kyle Allen and Hendon Hooker, who's battling for that number 2 job? Nobody apparently wants that because Kyle Allen was throwing picks all over the place in the first half, and Hendon Hooker was 3 of 6 for 18 yards, primarily in the second half. You look at Trey Lance, and you're right. We haven't seen a lot of Trey Lance at the NFL level, but that was a pretty good reintroduction, I should say, to Trey Lance. 13 of 20, 120 yards passing, 2 touchdown passes, a passer rating of a 114, did take 1 sack, but that was pretty impressive at that point here. You know what else is kind of impressive? You go from football to the speedway. Oh, we're going to talk NASCAR at this point now, maybe F1 racing. No, Major League Baseball at a speedway? Yeah, come on back. Let's figure it out together, huh?
Can you handle the heat? If you don't mind the desert at the hottest, consider visiting Vegas in the summer, where the temperatures are high and the prices are low. Have fun! See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Christopher Sanchez of the Philadelphia Phillies is one of 3 Major League Baseball pitchers to have a 7-start span featuring an undefeated record, a sub-1.5 ERA, 50 or more innings pitched, 50 or more strikeouts, fewer than 5 walks, no more than 1 home run allowed.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Luka Doncic lands the cover of Men's Health magazine. Let me say that again. Luka Doncic lands the cover of Men's Health magazine. I mean, that's noteworthy because Luka Doncic was seemingly traded away from Dallas because the Mavericks weren't sure if he was ever going to get in shape enough to deliver on his full potential.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
I like Payton. I like Jeremy Payton. I think he's a nice player, but really, look at this offense. You're shocked that they win games 2-1. I mean, they're an under machine. Solid pitching, even though Hector Staff's on the injured list still. The bullpen's solid, and they can't hit a lick. They average what? It seems like they average 3 runs a game. But somehow they run off 10 in a row. They're 10 games under, and then they're 20 games over 500. How does this team do it? That's just in them, though.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Major League Baseball, full slate of action today on a Friday. Love to see it. Only 3 games yesterday. Trade deadline, haves and have-nots, and away we go. But we have a caveat for this weekend here. And maybe it's the Atlanta Braves getting all excited because they're basically out of the playoff race. They didn't really make any deals yesterday. Marcell Ozuna still, I believe, in the lineup. Possibility for an early day game. You say, boy, wonder why they're playing an early Friday game. Because Saturday, the Speedway Classic takes place, Joe. Have you heard about the Speedway Classic?
Yeah, it's it goes in the same way in the category of what they were doing at the Field of Dreams in Iowa, right? It's I don't want to say a publicity stunt, but it's basically a PR opportunity to try and get, fans involved in Major League Baseball that otherwise might not catch a game anytime soon in such a crazy setting. It's a cornfield, and now it's a NASCAR track.
How about this too? Because I'm taking a look at some of the viewing of the stadium itself. It is massive out there. It really is, and it looks like it actually fits in there pretty well. Now, some of the information that went through from NASCAR's reporting is materials that went into effort were 340 tons of infield clay, 450 wall pads, 17,500 tons of rock, 80,000 square feet of backstop netting, 124,000 square feet of Diamond Series AstroTurf, and we have the final product, 330 down both lines, 400 to dead center. So it's a generic field itself, but the atmosphere is crazy. Now, I haven't, because it takes place tomorrow. Do we have any idea what the ticket sales are for this one? Like how many people have bought tickets for? Because I'm just trying to find the layout. What do we got? What is
85,000 they have sold.
Wow.
85. They said the venue holds 90, up to 90,000, but in attendance, I guess it breaks the all-time regular season game attendance record. More than 85,000 tickets have already been sold to this.
Woo. And by the way, Braves fans got to be hot. Like, hey, playoff run down the stretch. No, this is your consolation prize. Made no moves really at the deadline here. You're folding up. Ronald Acuna, who even knows if he's coming back for the season, but certainly an interesting way to have that. I wonder where you'd like to sit, too, because I don't think a home run could reach the stands here. As I look at some of the graphics, which is kind of interesting. So I don't think that can happen, but I would be interested to see how many home runs we get. Does the ball travel there? Remember we went to the London series, all right, the field looks average. It doesn't look too bad. You might as well thought it was Coors Field half the time. The balls were getting pummeled into the seats.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's going to be a very hot and humid day, I would imagine, Donnie. So I would imagine the ball is definitely going to be flying out. But listen, it's going to be an all-day event. I mean, kudos to Major League Baseball continuing to try and grow the game and try to hit different audiences. I mean, how many opportunities are folks in Bristol ever going to get to see a Major League Baseball game without having to hop in a car and drive forever or go to, hop on a plane? So you got to appreciate the effort here by Major League Baseball.
It is a really neat venue, but also understand this. I just read you, what went into building this field to have one Major League Baseball game. It tells you two things: how flush Major League Baseball is with cash, and then trying to tell the players we need a salary cap. And number two, it's all of that work for one game. You couldn't, I understand you're not going to have a home stand there for 9 games, but you couldn't have hey, the series is at Bristol, because you would have got the people like Braves fans, Reds fans, or just baseball fans, or even, NASCAR fans. Let's get the RV down there. We'll pull up early on a Friday morning, Friday game, Saturday game, Sunday, exactly what NASCAR does. NASCAR doesn't show up on a Sunday hey, we're here to race. It's a whole week of the sprint circuit, the truck circuit. They do a lot of things at those racetracks in between with different races here. I think Major League Baseball could have done that, Joe.
Yeah, they could have, but they also, I believe, partnered with a whole bunch of different companies that actually helped put that field together. So it wasn't just Major League Baseball writing the check. It's all sponsorship money that went into that. I mean, they partnered with turf companies, Fox, of course, I believe there's a title sponsor there too, that buildsubmarines.com, if you can believe it. There are a whole lot of sponsors. And when you sell 85,000 tickets, Donnie, you understand why people are lining up to sponsor an event like this.
Now, it looks like it doesn't really impede the track. So could we get a NASCAR race going on while the baseball game is going on? 2 for the price of 1 right there? Come on now. Yeah, get the little sprint cars out there.
Yeah. I love the musical acts, though, too, Donnie. I mean, the musical act is great because we've got, I believe, Tim McGraw, Jake Owen, and, of course, I mean, what says Tennessee like Pitbull?
Shabuzi?
So this should be very interesting. Pitbull. Yes, absolutely. So this should be an interesting day. Musical performances as well as a Major League Baseball game inside a NASCAR track. Who'd have thunk it?
All right. See a picture. I think that was Chipper Jones in that picture standing next to the car looking good. Maybe he can get some cuts in this game since the Atlanta Braves certainly are out of it. Let's get to some day baseball today, starting at 6:45, August 1st. Yes, it feels good to say that. The Detroit Tigers and the Philadelphia Phillies, a key series. The Phillies trying to get in the first place. The Tigers staying in first place. Flaherty's going to be on the mound against the lefty Ranger Suarez, 973, 974 on the rotation. A favorite overnight, Joe, right around that minus 145 to 140 price point. It's higher now. 152s, 155s, even 160s in the marketplace. But a total overnight 8 dropped to 7.5. The Phillies back after some changes made. Detroit's in town. Second half, technically, here we go. What do you see tonight out of the Phillies and the Tigers?
Yeah, I see a pretty good battle, but I'll caution Detroit. This isn't the Arizona Diamondbacks that you're playing here. This is going to be a little bit of a different animal. Plus, it's going to be on the road. Both these teams, if you're Philadelphia, you got to be excited. You've addressed your issues in your bullpen. You know, you're going to be looking to be in a spot to use your new shiny toy, hopefully. And I just don't trust Flaherty. I don't trust the Tigers. I think Philadelphia gets it done here, especially with Suarez on the mound at home.
By the way, like it is the dog days of summer here. We were getting blasted in the Northeast here with a lot of heat, humidity, and rain. Today, only a high of 74 to 75 degrees, so a little bit cooler with a light wind blowing in from right field. If we look at some interesting analytics in this game, Jack Flaherty's got a 3.46 xFIP over the past 45 days. Ranger Suarez, 3.66, very good. But look at this. The ERA for Suarez, 2.91. ERA for Jack Flaherty, 5.61. Do the analytics actually work in the Philadelphia Phillies' favor or the Detroit favor, or is it just that ERA that we take a look at? But a good game tonight in South Philadelphia at Citizens Bank Park. We're going to handicap Houston, Boston, Texas, Seattle, and Kansas City and Toronto next right here on the early line.
I have to think long and hard about whether or not you're a Hall of Famer, you're not a Hall of Famer. I don't need to argue stats. I don't need to argue whether or not you are great. If Ichiro Suzuki is not a Hall of Famer, we don't need to have a baseball Hall of Fame. Like, just pack it up and shut it down, because that guy was as good of a hitter as we've ever seen. And he was unbelievable from the first time he stepped onto the field for the Mariners until the end.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Edge rushers. That's where it is right now. And I think Myles Garrett is in a class of his own. I think TJ Watt's right there. I think Micah Parsons is right there. Certainly, those guys are very, very good. Myles Garrett is in a class of his own. He just absolutely is. When the advanced stats about the double team rate, his quarterback pressure rate, all of that, he just stands a notch. I don't want to say a big gap, but he stands a notch ahead of those guys.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
He'll be your reserve, your extra guy here. Listen, we all need that. I say this all the time about outfielders. Most leagues, I don't know about your league, but we start 5 outfielders. Even if you're in a 10-team league, that's 50 outfielders. Plus, you got some guys at utility. Plus, you got some guys on reserve. 70 outfielders are gone. All right, so outfielders are extremely valuable here. And Moniak, if he's available, is a nice guy to pick up right now.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
I feel they're all completely justified. The numbers, they're nearly identical. And speaking of identical, I don't know if you saw that one, Craig. That was pretty wild. From winning their first major to winning their 4th major, both Tiger Woods and Scottie Scheffler completed that task in exactly 1,197 days. Both of them, in the exact amount of days, won their 4th major.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Two teams vying for the playoffs are going to play tonight in Boston. That's Houston and Boston. That's Hunter Brown on the mound here for the Houston Astros, taking on Cooper Criswell of the Boston Red Sox. 965, 966 on the rotation. A 7 o'clock start tonight. that showed overnight a favorite here towards the Houston Astros, around a minus 130 price. Now we're seeing those numbers still in the 130s, but more in the higher levels of that. Minus 136s, minus 138s across the landscape. A total, Joe, that opened up overnight at 8 and still sits this morning at 8. The Houston Astros and the Boston Red Sox today from Fenway.
Opening of a 9-game road trip here for the Astros, and it's got to feel good to get away because they have been horrific at home lately here. In July was not a good month, Donnie. They couldn't seem to get anything going at home, and they've been a great home team. But good news for them is Altuve is really starting to kick it up here now, and he has absolutely been crushing the ball. I like Houston. You got to like Brown on the mound, the advantage that they have as far as the starting pitching going. And we already know the bullpen advantage for Houston. Kind of hard at this price not to like Houston, but I do think it's going to be a close one. So, yeah, you know, a home dog has been pretty profitable at this price range to back over the last month or so. I'm just not buying Boston. I think Houston's the right side here.
Yeah, revamped team as well for Houston. You take a look at the first 3 batters anticipated. How about Jose Altuve leading off once again? Love to see that. And then Jesus Sanchez, who they acquired in the 2-hole. Carlos Correa in the 3-hole. Now, we don't have the exact starting lineups. This game's not going to take place for a few more hours, obviously. But if we're looking at that lineup, it looks better today than it did yesterday. They just have to perform. And you're right. Hunter Brown, better pitcher than Cooper Criswell. Not a lot of seasonal statistics on Criswell. If you look at Brown's last 45 days, he's a strikeout guy, Joe. 10.45 is his strikeouts per 9, which is really good. That's 1+ per inning. You look at his ERA, it is a little high at 4.03, but the analytics love him because he's a strikeout guy, a 3.30. So we look at that price point to say Houston is the favorite. I agree they should be the favorite, and maybe just getting out of town here can certainly make the difference. And also, the good vibes in the locker room. Carlos Correa is back. What could go wrong? Well, we'll find out tonight when they take first pitch, at 7:10 Eastern. Game number 2 we're going to take a look at today. That is Texas and Seattle. Nightcap, 10-10 start out west. Did you watch last night? That new look Mariners lineup, 6-0 victory over Texas, a division rival. Today, it's going to be Jack Leiter taking on Logan Gilbert. 969, 970 on the rotation. A heavy favorite here for Seattle, Joe. Overnight, minus 175s, as you see on the graphic about to pop up on the TV side. We're as high as minus 190s now in the marketplace, and a total of 7.5. 6 runs for the Mariners last night. Didn't get over because their pitching staff was fantastic. 7.5 is a total today. Monster favorite and better pitcher for the Mariners. I think the Mariners are taking care of business again tonight, Joe.
Yeah, it wasn't a great week last week for Seattle. They just couldn't seem to get anything done in Sacramento against the Athletics. But, you know, they got a little bit of rejuvenation and life in them there with the trade deadline and the players they picked up, and they showed it last night. And now Leiter is a guy that's going to be pitching for him to remain a starter, because now that Texas has got Merrill Kelly, you know, it's either going to be Rocker or it's going to be Leiter. Somebody's going to the bullpen here to come out of that. So this is a big start, I think, for Leiter here. But Logan Gilbert was the ace to start the season for Seattle. I don't like the price, though. I think it's a little pricey. At home, I like the Texas Rangers. I'd even be willing to take them on the run line in this one.
Wow. How about this, too, about Logan Gilbert's last 42 innings over the past 45 days? How about a 13.07 K rate here? He's been on fire. His ERA is slightly higher, but his xFIP pristine at a 2.82. We'll see how it plays out tonight. Kansas City and Toronto, waka on the mound for the Royals, going up against Kevin Gausman. 961, 962 on the rotation. This line, 158s overnight, 155s overnight, 162s to 165s now in the marketplace, and a total listed for Kansas City and Toronto at 8 across the board. In the 6 today, Toronto and Kansas City. Toronto, got to keep on winning, people.
It's crazy how many trades and how involved Kansas City was at the trade deadline, is it not? But they've actually been swinging the bat. They've been scoring some runs. They've actually played pretty darn well here. Listen, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Waka and the first 5 under has been absolute gold all season long. I see no reason to do it. He doesn't give up a ton of barrels. I think he limits Toronto here for a short period of time. Yeah, I'll take the first 5 under 4 in this one.
Should be interesting, too, because every single time we look at the Toronto Blue Jays, that lineup does project really well. But Walk, as you said, his last 30 days, how about an 0.58 ISO against and a weighted on base percentage against of 236? Absolutely spectacular. Let's start to have some fun. Keep on hitting the diamond. And away we go on a Friday on the Sports Grid Network.
If I have to think long and hard about whether or not you're a Hall of Famer, you're not a Hall of
Thank
Famer.
you.
I don't need to argue stats. I don't need to argue whether or not you are great. If Ichiro Suzuki is not a Hall of Famer, we don't need to have a baseball Hall of Fame. Like, just pack it up and shut it down, because that guy was as good of a hitter as we've ever seen. And he was unbelievable from the first time he stepped onto the field for the Mariners until the end.
In-game live, only on Sports Grid.
It's edge rushers. That's where it is right now. And I think Myles Garrett is in a class of his own. I think TJ Watt's right there. I think Micah Parsons is right there. Certainly, those guys are very, very good. Myles Garrett is in a class of his own. He just absolutely is. When the advanced stats about the double team rate, his quarterback pressure rate, all of that, he just stands a notch. I don't want to say a big gap, but he stands a notch ahead of those guys.
Game time decisions, only on Sports Grid.
He'll be your reserve, your extra guy here. Listen, we all need that. I say this all the time about outfielders. Most leagues, I don't know about your league, but we start 5 outfielders. Even if you're in a 10-team league, that's 50 outfielders. Plus, you got some guys at utility. Plus, you got some guys on reserve. 70 outfielders are gone. All right, so outfielders are extremely valuable here. And Moniak, if he's available, is a nice guy to pick up right now.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on Sports Grid.
I feel they're all completely justified. The numbers, they're nearly identical. And speaking of identical, I don't know if you saw that one, Craig. That was pretty wild. From winning their first major to winning their 4th major, both Tiger Woods and Scottie Scheffler completed that task in exactly 1,197 days. Both of them, in the exact amount of days, won their 4th major.
Newswire, only on Sports Grid.
Joe and Erie, Donnie right side here, having some fun, breaking down the Major League Baseball card today. New York, live from Citi Field today, a 7:10 start. That's the San Francisco Giants taking on the New York Metropolitans. Robbie Ray, the left-handed starter for the Giants, going up against David Peterson, the left-handed starter for the New York Mets. A 7:10 start here. A favorite overnight was roughly a pick'em. Minus 120s, minus 125s. We're now seeing the graphic at a minus 136 on the screen. But how about this? Minus 145s at most of the outlets out here. A total of 7 overnight has increased to 7.5. 2 lefties on the mound. The Mets still in first place. Big series for them. And we talked earlier in the show about the San Francisco Giants odds plummeting to win the World Series because they can't win baseball games anymore.
No, they can't. But what a great opportunity for the Giants to get some revenge here. Don't forget, Donnie. I mean, this is going to be the 4th, 5th, and 6th game that they are going to have played over the last 10 days because the Mets swept them at Oracle 8-1, 2-1, and 5-3 last week. So they're going to have an opportunity to get a little revenge. The question is, who's hitting the ball here for the Giants? Are they going to hit any better than what they had been the last go-around against this Mets team, where they didn't score a whole lot of runs here? Peterson's been great for the Mets. Robbie Ray has been great for the Giants. Feels like maybe a first 5 under for me. I think it takes a little while for the bats to get going in this one.
Yeah, it should be fun to watch this one play out because you look at left-handed pitchers going up against that San Francisco Giants offense. Remember, hey, we got Rafael Devers in the lineup. I think the worst team in baseball since they got Rafael Devers. And you look at the lineup itself, outside of Willie Adames, who's got a 632 ISO power number against left-handed pitching over the past month, which is incredible. The rest of the lineup stinks, Joe. Like, it's really bad. Weighted on base percentages, all well below 300. Where do the hits come from? And we just talked about the Philadelphia Phillies and the Detroit Tigers. Northeast, same where the Mets are going to be playing today against the San Francisco Giants. 72, 73-degree temperatures here as the high, getting cooler as the night moves on. We'll see if that has an impact here. But new week, new money, new month, new money. Same thing for the Mets, man. They got a couple new toys to try to play around with here with the San Francisco Giants. We'll keep moving down the list as we go. That is going to be St. Louis and San Diego. Liberator is on the mound, the left-handed pitcher, going up against Nick Pivetta. 959, 960 on the rotation here. A 940 start tonight. The favorite overnight, right around a minus 145 price. The graphic on the screen, you'll see minus 158. It continues to increase, Joe Ranieri, to a minus 185 and higher at different outlets. A 7.5 total across the board. San Diego, when we talk about a lot of new toys for the Mets, they have the entire toy store to play with tonight. And it looks like the bettors are saying, yeah, it's time to back those Padres.
Yeah, I listen. The vibes in that locker room are going to be pretty intense there for the Padres. And in the meantime, on the other side, the Cardinals, they were in sell mode. They made everyone available, and you kind of knew that was the direction they were going. Great first half of the season, but they kind of overperformed here a little bit. I think this is a tough spot for them, but I do think the Padres are going to win. I think they're going to win big too as well. So I got no problem. I'm not running the wind on a lay, a run and a half against for home teams here who I think are going to win. But I think this is going to be a big win for the Padres tonight.
Yeah, we take a look at some of these pitchers here over the past 45 days, and we start obviously with Nick Pivetta. He's top 5 on the pitching card today for me, Joe. 38 innings pitched over those 45 days, a 1.82 ERA and a 3.38 xFIP number. You take a look at Liberator, he stacks up decent, 3.73 ERA, which isn't terrible, but that xFIP number is over 5. You take a look at Nick Pivetta over the last 30 days against the batters he's faced, Joe, 119 of those. How about an 082 ISO, a weighted on base percentage of 211, and a K rate of 25%, and a very manageable walk rate? You look at the lineup tonight. Donovan's okay. Burleson's okay. Contreras is okay. Those guys were actually at the trade deadline up on the market, still decided to stay in town. But if you look at San Diego's bats now, this is where you might want to jump on board. Matthew Liberator, as we said, is a left-handed pitcher. His K rate, Joe, 11% over his last 63 batters. If you're not striking guys out, the ball's in play. Walk rate, also 11%. Not good. ISO power against, 275. Horrendous. Weighted on base percentage, 442. You see for Tatis, Machado, Bogarts, Laureano, Iglesias, Cronenworth, all high numbers against left-handed pitching. I'm with you. And we have a buy segment at the end of the show today. Got in a little bit of a nice price here because I told you it is running away, and rightfully so. I don't see too many people looking to back the St. Louis Cardinals today and the Padres. Hey, look, Pivetta doesn't go that long, 5 or 6 innings. If those bullpen arms are available, lights out in San Diego. Let's keep it out on the West Coast here. Actually, we'll keep it with a West Coast team, but coming to the East Coast. And that's down in your neck of the woods in Tampa Bay. The Dodgers taking on the Rays. Clayton Kershaw, the left-handed pitcher, will be on the mound today going up against Shane Baz. 977, 978 on the rotation. A 735 start. 145s to 146s overnight, as you see on the graphic. But now we're starting to get some buyback here on Tampa Bay, Joe. 130s, 125s, and a total that's listed at 9. Dodgers and the Rays from Tampa today.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, the Rays had to play. They're one of the few teams that played yesterday, and while they lost, and then they lost one of their mainstays as well, as he had to actually leave their dugout, get pulled by the game, pulled from the game at Gaviero because he had just been traded to the Yankees, which is another underrated move that they made. But to me, the Dodgers coming into town here, the Rays going the wrong way, not really sure what direction they're heading. Yeah, I like the Dodgers here to get it done. This is a game I would definitely lay the 1.5, although it is feasible to lay it on the money line as well.
Clayton Kershaw, not bad over the past month and a half, Joe. 32 innings pitched here, 3.94 ERA and a 4.34 xFIP number. We take a look at Shane Baz, 48 and a third innings pitched over the past 45 days, a 4.10 xFIP number and a 3.80 ERA, and then into the xFIP numbers. If we look at the weather conditions, let me just see if we can get a vantage point down there. Steinbrenner Field today, 88 degrees at first pitch, Joe, with the wind blowing out to right field. So I think that also does make a little bit of sense. But getting back into the fold, Joe, we take a look at so many of these games that we're handicapping today, and I do feel like the taxes are starting to rise. Like we talked about that San Diego game momentarily, and that 140 overnight where the bettors go like, wait a second, one team's trying to win, the other team's really not trying to win. Good pitcher on the mound, good lineup, good bullpen now. Where do I sign up? So those 140 prices go up 40 cents overnight. Now, let me ask you this too. We see these prices go up, and good series for really good baseball teams, Joe, is winning 2 out of 3 games. Like the common thought is, oh, the Dodgers should just go into every series and win all 3. That's not the case here. They lose series, and they certainly don't sweep all of the time. So when you're betting these dogs where the white flag is up in the locker room, going against a team that's saying, my general manager and my front office gave me the tools to win and the vibes are high, how do you bet these dogs in the month of August and September?
It's very hard. You got to pick and choose your spots here. I certainly wouldn't be picking them early on after the locker room looks completely different than what it did just a week or so ago, whether they've been living up to expectations or not here. But let's face it, a lot of these teams that threw up the white flag, they had been playing like the white flag had been thrown up for most of July, Donnie, which is why a lot of these teams were sellers. Do not expect some sort of crazy turnaround, home dog or not, here in this spot.
Yeah, again, like winners and losers, like we understand. It's the same thing like the offseason. Hey, the best offseason team in the NFL typically stinks in the regular season because the good teams have the continuity with the head coach, the coordinators, the players in the organization for a long time, as opposed to that shiny new toy that you do bring in. But I look at the Padres, man, they got more shiny toys than anybody else. And as I said, I'll be in the ballpark tonight in Philadelphia. Maybe a new shiny new toy gets in to close that game out with Duran coming out of the bullpen. But it's fun. It feels like it's a like refreshed market where you waited from the All-Star break, which we can't stand. And teams get fat and lazy over the All-Star break. Then it leads into the deadline where guys are getting calls left and right for days in advance. Hey, what do you hear from my agent? What do you hear from this? Maybe I have to move to a new apartment. Maybe I have to buy a new house. Maybe I'm in a new city at this point. Maybe I'm going to be living out of a suitcase. That all weighs on those guys. So even the teams that are waving the white flag, if you didn't get traded, all right, I can settle into the rest of the season. The guys that did get traded, at least you know there's a finality, and they can get used to the new environment, their teammates, and certainly the ballparks that they do play in. So good times around in Major League Baseball, at least we hope there for the month of August. Tom Vecchio joins us next. Let's get some intel from TV Tom.
I have to think long and hard about whether or not you're a Hall of Famer, you're not a Hall of Famer. I don't need to argue stats. I don't need to argue whether or not you are great. If Ichiro Suzuki is not a Hall of Famer, we don't need to have a baseball Hall of Fame. Like, just pack it up and shut it down, because that guy was as good of a hitter as we've ever seen. And he was unbelievable from the first time he stepped onto the field for the Mariners until the end.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
It's edge rushers. That's where it is right now. And I think Myles Garrett is in a class of his own. I think TJ Watt's right there. I think Micah Parsons is right there. Certainly, those guys are very, very good. Myles Garrett is in a class of his own. He just absolutely is. When the advanced stats about the double team rate, his quarterback pressure rate, all of that, he just stands a notch. I don't want to say a big gap, but he stands a notch ahead of those guys.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
He'll be your reserve, your extra guy here. Listen, we all need that. I say this all the time about outfielders. Most leagues, I don't know about your league, but we start 5 outfielders. Even if you're in a 10-team league, that's 50 outfielders. Plus, you got some guys at utility. Plus, you got some guys on reserve. 70 outfielders are gone. All right, so outfielders are extremely valuable here. And Moniak, if he's available, is a nice guy to pick up right now.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
I feel they're all completely justified. The numbers, they're nearly identical. And speaking of identical, I don't know if you saw that one, Craig. That was pretty wild. From winning their first major to winning their 4th major, both Tiger Woods and Scottie Scheffler completed that task in exactly 1,197 days. Both of them, in the exact amount of days, won their 4th major.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Major League Baseball. It's August. Yes, we understand that we had football on our TV last night, with apparently nobody watched outside of me and Joe Ranieri, according to the polls across the street here. But it is what it is. But we do have baseball. But we got to get some of that knowledge here. There's a great baseball show that comes every single Sunday on this network, certainly throughout the month of August, where it's Tom Vecchio and a guy named Donnie Rightside, 10 to 12 a.m. You should not be missing that show on a week-to-week basis. If you did, shame on you. But now, it's Donnie Rightside, it's Joe Ranieri, and Tom Vecchio right here on a Friday to keep you updated right now. Tom Vecchio on a Friday, post-trade deadline. How we feeling out there?
That's right. The dust has settled for all this. Some odds have changed along the way. Last segment, you guys were talking about, how do you approach dogs? How do you approach whatever? I would say betting early, and honestly betting the night before, like as soon as the game's lines come out, I think that's the time to bet. Like, I have the Cubs at, minus 106, and they're up to minus 146 as of now. Bet them last night. So betting lines early for favorites, at least, I think that's a great way to approach things moving forward.
It's such a smart move, too, because we have a buy section next year, which, again, we do those handicaps a lot earlier in the day than when the show actually goes on. And there's about 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 cents that you can save. So, Tom, giving some very good advice. If you know that favorite tomorrow, the public is going to like them. That number is probably only to go higher. Now, does it win? That's the question, but you always want to beat that number, and that's certainly a way to do it. Yesterday, we do have the dust settling here at the trade deadline. There were a lot of winners here, and it looks like most of the teams, Tom, really getting after their bullpen. One of those teams was the New York Yankees, and I guess the prize piece there was David Bednar. I love when a team loads up on the bullpen because, as we've seen, Tom, over the past couple of years in playoff baseball, it's not even really about the starters anymore. It's bringing in your bullpen like the fourth inning and being able to carry it through. Yankees bolstered that bullpen yesterday.
Yeah, a lot of teams did that. The Yankees, the Mets, the Phillies, the Padres getting Mason Miller. Like historically, the line or the quote that I would use would be like, "Oh, if your name wasn't DeGrom, Scherzer, Kershaw, Garrett Cole, whatever it might be." Those starters we know can go 5 or 6 innings. But outside of that, it's more just like, okay, give us 3 or 4 innings, and then we're going to turn it over to the bullpen. And when you bring in all these extra arms, it's like, okay, if you give us 5 innings at a minimum, we can then have 5 or 6 different relievers come out situationally to handle the next 4 or 5 innings if it goes into extras, whatever it might be. And that's always great to see. The Yankees also made some good moves, bringing in Caballero, obviously improving their defense, which has been a massive issue for them this season overall. But they're also expected to get Luis Gil back. I believe he's going to pitch Saturday or Sunday. If he's Sunday, Donnie, of course, you and I will break that down. But they should have gotten another starting pitcher. But getting Gil back plus the bullpen help is massive.
There are a couple of teams too, Tom, where I'm like, what are you doing, Cubs? Like, I don't. You're good with everything that you got here because you're already trailing Milwaukee, and I also don't understand what Tampa is. Are you a buyer or are you a seller? Like, what are 2 very head scratching teams here at the trade deadline? How about you?
Yeah, the Cubs I would like to see just a little bit more, especially from the pitching perspective, knowing that they're competing with the Brewers. And, when the Brewers can throw out there Freddie Peralta, Brandon Woodruff, who's back, and Mizorowski, in a 3-game series, if in a wild card, if you give me Peralta and then Miz, and then, okay, you have to bring Woodruff out of the bullpen, it's like, that's a pretty good 3-pitcher tandem to go for. So, like I said, I like the Cubs today, and that's largely just because they're going up against the Orioles. The Orioles have 6 roster spots to fill before today's game starts because of all the trades that they make. So they have to make 6 call-ups, essentially. So outside of that, and again with Tampa, again, Joe, which direction are you going? Are you buying? Are you selling? You're making trades. You're getting rid of Taz Bradley. You're getting players back from Minnesota. I don't like it overall. But again, it's kind of just a lost season. They started off super hot. They were great in June, and then they were terrible in July.
I want to put a quick focus before we get to some of your prop bets here, Tom, on the NL West, because it's fascinating to me. The Giants look like they're ducking out right now, losers of 6 straight games. Certainly no hope for them, but it looks like it is a 2-team race now where we always thought it was going to be the Dodgers, and can somebody come try to chase them down? The Padres were probably the biggest winner yesterday, at least in the odds market. They sit only 3 games back. Legitimacy on a Padres run to win the NL West? Is that possible?
I think so. And a lot of people are just saying like, oh, it's the Dodgers. It's the Dodgers. Like we can't be winning against them. It's like, okay, well, Max Muncy still isn't back. Blake Snell's supposed to come back this weekend, if I remember correctly. Is he going to be at 100%? Tommy Edman is finally rounding into form. Mookie Betts is still struggling. Ohtani left early, and granted, that's not like a major injury from his last pitching outing. But you need all the pieces to fall together at the exact same time. Glasnow is back, we know that. But if there would be a team to back, I think it would be the Padres, not just from the NL. I think it would be from an NLCS perspective, because essentially, if we look at the odds from the NLCS, the teams ahead of them, the Dodgers, the Mets, the Phillies, those teams are going to cannibalize themselves. And if the Padres were to make it to the NLCS, that means 3 of those 4 teams are going to be lopped off, right? The Dodgers, Phillies, Mets, Cubs, and Brewers, those teams are going to eliminate each other prior to the NLCS. So if you want to back a team, I really do think it is the Padres.
Well, who you got here today? What'd you bet overnight for us, Tom?
Yeah, let's get into some stuff for today. The Guardians, I like today. Minnesota made a rash of trades, yesterday, and their team is just vastly depleted. On top of the fact that Byron Buxton is still on the IL, so their lineup is weaker, their pitching staff is weaker, their bullpen is weaker. Everything across the board is weaker. And yes, Joe Ryan is a great pitcher. I know he's involved in a lot of trade talks, but I'll be willing to back the Guardians, who are still in the hunt. They didn't trade Stephen Kwan. They didn't trade Clase, although they probably couldn't trade him. But I do like the Guardians to come through with the win today. And then let's turn to Royals, Blue Jays under 8 minus 106. I'm seeing right now that Gossman should be starting for the Blue Jays. And Joe, as we talked about the other day, Michael Wacha is on the mound for the Royals. He's a clear first 5 under pitcher. So I don't mind the under to start the game. And frankly, if it starts off and we do hit the first 5 under, getting a live over of over 4.5 or over 5.5, I think would be fine. And the Royals offense is not good to begin with. And if this does go over, I expect the Blue Jays to be doing literally 90% of the work in this situation.
It's Tom Vecchio there. By the way, this weekend on Saturday, we have a Speedway game down in Bristol, Tennessee. Did you handicap that one yet, Tom? Are you involved in that one?
I looked at the dimensions. So it's 330 down each line. It's 400 to direct center. So it is a smaller ballpark. It's probably going to be super hot there. I would say the over, expect some offense, and just be excited for the fun just because of the circumstances. And if we're going to be scoring 16 runs in 1 inning like they did last night, I think it should be an easy over.
It is pretty crazy that happened. 8 in the top of the half, 8 in the bottom half of the innings. Also understand this, nobody's really the home team tomorrow at Bristol, which means those pitchers won't be used to it here. Tom Vecchio, thanks for joining us here on a Friday morning edition of The Early Line.
They lay over and die at the hands of the Minnesota Lynx, who beat them 109-78. The defense is a mess. The offense is a mess. The Vegas Aces, who I was so sold on, JY, bouncing back and being one of the absolute best teams in this league, are average at best.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
You want to hear a crazy stat, guys, with this Pittsburgh Pirate team? I brought this up yesterday. Out of 106 games, they have been involved in 27 shutouts, 13 for, 14 against. Over 1 out of every 4 Pittsburgh Pirate games ends in a shutout. How crazy is that?
Total is 8 tonight. In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
One big problem for NBC, too many on-air cooks for the coverage, particularly on the weekends. Having 4 on-air teams separate time, divide the time, was really outrageous. You had Mike Tirico and his partner. You had Dan Hicks, NBC Sports' lead golf commentator, and his partner. You had Steve Sampson, Golf Channel, and his partner. And you had Terry Gann, who, by the way, if you don't know, is going to become an NBA play-by-play voice.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Just more and more smoke, leading to the fire that is Keegan Bradley being on this team as a player.
Yeah, I think we're all expecting it at this point. And, Keegan, he knows he can't play poorly in the playoffs. He knows he needs to keep momentum going. And if he continues to play well, he's going to be on this team.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
the first day of August. You got to love it here. Football season is here. Major League Baseball swinging there. The WNBA is going to be closing down, their season in the month of September into October. Then also you take a look at college football. Now the calendar switch, right, Joe? You take out the manual, boom, you move it over and go, all right, August 23rd. That's college football week 0. So we have preseason football. Then we have August 23rd. We kick off college football. Week and a half after that, we're going to be in the regular season for the NFL. It is a very good time here, Joe, on the SportsGrid Network to make sure you're involved in everything. I'm enjoying this right now. I love August, but I love September even more, and October right behind it.
Yeah, feels like Major League Baseball hit a reset, too. Now we've got the final stretch here of the regular season into the postseason, and we are now just weeks away from college football and the NFL. You got to love it. It's a great time of year.
Now, let me ask you this quick question on college football before we flip it over and get our buys in here. Is college football, we around the corner from them actually having like preseason games that they televise and sell tickets for like ESPN to say, hey, look, we could sell another package. Like the NFL does it, but the only reason why the NFL does it is because TV will pick it up, TV will pay for it, and the fans will be in the stands. Is college football ever going to get a preseason?
No, absolutely not. Week 0 is, in essence, the preseason,
That's
isn't
true.
it, Donnie? We never used to have now we were playing games over in Ireland with, Navy and Notre Dame. They've already made that move, in essence.
You know what? You do bring up a good point in that, too, because the thing that I love the NFL and I love college football. But if we just got to remove, you cannot play anybody in the regular season outside of your own conference, we would be much better off. We don't need to see Alabama, Samford, I should say, in week 11 of the college football season. Take those preseason games out and stack them and throw them away. Give me more talent at this point. Just the way it is. Just the way I wanted to pop off with a little soundbite right there. But it's time for bye, Joe Ranieri. We got to let Joe rip it on a Friday. It's been red hot on bye, and no exceptions on a Friday. New week, new money. No, new month, new money. And Friday, it is payday, Joe Ranieri. Get the people paid.
You got to love it. All right, well, keep it rolling here, Donnie. And I am Mr. Tom Vecchio stole my thunder a little bit, but I am in 100% agreement with him. In fact, I think the number is artificially low simply because of who the starting pitcher is for Minnesota on the road, and that is Mr. Joe Ryan, who, let's face it, has probably been going, all right, where am I playing? Because he was a conversation and a topic as a possible trade situation for Minnesota, who, by the way, kept him, but now they traded everybody else. They don't have Byron Buxton. They don't have anybody. This is going to be a whole lot of no frills. Minnesota has thrown the white flag up, and they are ready to move on. Now, Cleveland, on the other hand, I love Gavin Williams. I love him because he's home. He is a much better pitcher at Progressive Field than he is on the road. We've already seen Joe Ryan struggle against the Guardians earlier this year. I think 3 earned runs in 5 innings back in May. Yeah, there's nobody coming out of the bullpen to save Joe Ryan. There is no big bats. And this Twins roster currently constructed has a .395 OPS in 44 at-bats against Gavin Williams. I like the Guardians to start it off here on this final leg of the regular season with a big win at home over Joe Ryan and the Twins.
By the way, that logo for the Guardians on the screen right now, absolutely horrendous. I mean, can we just do a rebrand? Like, Washington's going to go through a rebrand here. We need a rebrand completely there for that Guard. Maybe the Guardians name has to go at this point. But as long as the Guardians win tonight, that's all we care about. You know what I'm going to go? Again, CLV. Before the show started, we're asked to give our buy plays in. I went with San Diego at a -155 price. They're as high as 189 in the marketplace at DraftKings right now, and a total that's listed at 7.5. I have the better pitcher on the mound. I'm going against a dead baseball team in the Cardinals. I am the home team with the Padres. I have a lot of new toys, as I like to say, in my bullpen today, and also a better 1 through 9 lineup. Pivetta gets the job done tonight. An easy walk-away victory for the Padres. Joe and Donnie end the week 2-0 on our best bets. I can feel it right now, Joe. I can feel it in my heart.
It ain't broke. We ain't fixing it. A lot of great opportunities on this Friday after the trade deadline in Major League Baseball. Pick your spots accordingly. Should be a good weekend.
Absolutely. And it looks like football and professional football turns 8-7, which is next week. And that's with Indianapolis taking on Baltimore. You take a look at Cincinnati and Philadelphia, Vegas and Seattle. And, more games there. How'd we do? I think we did pretty well. Thanks for tuning into the early line. Joe Ranieri and Danny Right Side. We'll be here bright and early Monday morning.